Hey everyone, today we're going to go over earnest money deposits. You guys should sort of know what they are by now, but we're going to go over it for the new people. An earnest money deposit, how I break it down on our home buyer's guide here, is basically a security deposit for the sellers, and usually it's somewhere between $500 and $1,000. But I wanted to read you the legal terms and then show you what it looks like on our standard purchase agreement. So I'm actually using the book here, Modern Real Estate Practice, 19th edition. Looks like this. It's something that we all got when we first started taking real estate school. So just brought the book right out, and it says here, earnest money deposits. It is customary, although not essential, for a purchaser to provide a deposit when making an offer to purchase real estate. This deposit usually is in the form of a check, and it's called an earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit is evidence of the buyer's intention to carry out the terms of the contract in good faith. The amount of the deposit is a matter to be agreed upon by the parties, but typically is an amount sufficient to, and list three items, discourage the buyer from defaulting, compensate the seller for taking the property off the market, and cover any expenses the seller might incur if the buyer defaults. So I'm going to stop there for a second and explain what that means. Usually the earnest money deposit is right around $500 because most people, $500 is something that if they back out, it's gonna kind of suck to lose it. But for some other people, it's not really. So you'll see in higher priced homes, it's where they require at least 1% of the sales price. So say it's a $500,000 home. If it were me, I would much rather have a $5,000 EMD. Because we know this buyer isn't going to back out as easily. Because if it's just $500 and it's a $600,000 house, these buyers could just walk away and be like, keep my $500, it doesn't matter. But when you bring it down to the $100,000 homes, $500 is a lot and it's very important. So even though it's still a $500, they're not going to back out as often. So on average, it's right around $500 to $1,000. You'll see with some auction homes, it's right around the 1% mark as well. So sometimes you'll just see $1,000 or 1%, the higher of the two. And then in here it says, in many states, the earnest money check is given to the seller's agent on an acceptance of the offer to purchase by the seller. So whenever I show the home buyer's guide here, I always say, hey, look, to write an offer, there's three things that we need to do. We need to, one, write the offer, two, send a photo of the earnest money deposit, and three, send the proof of funds or the pre-approval letter. And with those three, then it's a full offer. Now, technically, an earnest money deposit is not needed. And I'll show you on the contract. But if you are a good listing agent, you're most likely going to require that earnest money deposit. And then it says here, when the disposition of the funds has been determined, they will be placed in an escrow account according to the terms of the escrow agreement, the contract between the buyer, the seller, and the escrow holder that sets forth the rights and responsibilities of each. Now, it says that there because technically the money can be held in an escrow account by the real estate company, by an attorney, by a title company, could be a couple different people. So in the contract, which I'll pull up here, it shows here, this is all about the earnest money deposit, how much it's going to be. So in this instance, it's $500. It says here, this one is actually going to be a wire transfer. Usually it's a personal check or a certified bank check. And then it says where it's going. So here it says Sykes Verdon Ahern Levy, which is our attorney. Now, again, real estate companies can take EMDs, earnest money deposits. But here at Austin James, we prefer not to, because when it comes down to it, earnest money deposits is the #1 reason why most firms get sued. So that is something we like avoiding, because when you keep reading in this paragraph, it says buyer has paid, if they did, or will they pay to the escrow agent and deposit to the escrow agent within 2 business days of the ratification. And then for purposes of this agreement, ratification shall mean the date ratified. So just say we ratify here on the 17th. They're going to ask for business days, so weekends don't count, and then holidays don't count, obviously. So sometimes you will fall on a Friday, and then just say you have a holiday on Monday, technically you still have till Wednesday because it's business days. But ideally, you want to get that in as soon as possible, and even better if you can get it in before, because in the contract now you can say buyer has paid to the agent, and then show a receipt to the attorney that it has been put in there. Most good listing agents will say, hey, look, show us this, so we know you've actually done it. And then I'll keep reading here. Let's see. The escrow holder will collect and then disperse the funds and documents that are necessary to close the transaction. So say it's being held by the attorney, you know, at closing, you'll get your full amount of what you're owed. You'll see that in a check written to the real estate company, and then from there, you'll get your money. Now, if your deposit is actually at the real estate company, so just say if it was held by Austin James for some reason, at that point, you'll see, just say it's a $500 EMD, you'll see $500 less on the check from the closing attorney, and that's because we're holding the $500 EMD at the company, meaning now we'll actually put that $500 back into your account there, and then you'll get your full amount from there. EMDs, they're a little tricky sometimes because sometimes buyers will get the full amount back, sometimes they don't, sometimes they get partial amount back. It really depends on how much closing cost assistance they got. With VA, sometimes they'll get all of it back, sometimes they need it for something else. So in every instance, I usually say in most cases, you'll get the EMD back as long as we get the majority of your closing costs covered. If not, then you'll see it on the CD that that $500 is applied towards the buyer's closing costs, and then it's just subtracted on the CD there, showing, hey, you owe less in closing costs because your $500 is being applied there. But the biggest thing to note here is EMD is not necessary, even though it seems pretty necessary in our contract. When you actually take a legal class from an attorney, they'll tell you, look, it's not necessary. And even in this book here, it says it is not necessary. But again, every state is different. Every MLS is different. So with our MLS at Rain, it's within the 2 business days. And again, that's minus holidays and weekends. But other than that, that's everything with an EMD. Try to send it in with the offer to make it the offer pre-approval and EMD. Really, you just need a photo of it. Always recommend your buyers bring it in as soon as possible. If they can't, go pick it up yourself and bring it to the attorney. I've done that plenty of times because if the EMD comes in late, then there's going to be legal problems. And not just that, if it comes in late, the sellers actually have the right to terminate. And it says here, buyer shall be in breach of this agreement, and seller may, at seller's option, terminate this agreement by written notice to buyer, in which event neither buyer or seller shall have any further liability to the other. So if you don't get it in time, you could potentially lose it. You don't want that to happen. So again, just tell your buyers how important it is to get that in as soon as possible. If they can't do it yourself, because I'd rather go drive to Norfolk, pick up the check, bring it to the attorney in town center, and still make $7,500 on the deal. That's just me, but I hope you would think the same. So if you guys have any more questions on it, you know, I'm always happy to help. But when it comes to EMDs, the attorney is the best person to talk to. So always bring it to our attorney. Make sure you get a receipt, put it in brokerment, and then everything from there shall take care of itself. Take care, guys.